Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Ready to explore a pretty mind-bending topic today.
Absolutely. Should be fascinating.
We're diving into how AI is changing how we think.
More than that, even. How AI is making us question what thinking even is.
Right, exactly. And to help us unpack all of this, we've got some really thought-provoking source material.
Yeah, we're looking at this Big Think article. It's by Shai Tubali,
He really delves into the ideas of Jiddu Krishnamurti.
who is like way ahead of his time when it came to thinking about, well, thinking and consciousness.
Especially this relationship between human consciousness and artificial intelligence.
Definitely a connection we don't always think about.
And we've also got a couple of briefing documents that kind of summarize Krishnamurti's main points.
Yeah.
Just to help us connect all the dots.
Sounds good. So where do we start with all this?
Well, I think what's really interesting is that instead of worrying about machines becoming conscious like us.
Which is what we usually hear about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But this time we're going to flip the script. Ask if we're becoming more like machines.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good twist.
So Tubali kicks things off with this anecdote about philosopher Sven Neiholm. He decided to ask ChatGPT, the AI, a really complex philosophical question.
What kind of question?
He asked, what would Martin Heidegger think about the ethics of AI?
Whoa, now that's a thinker thinking about thinking.
I know, right? And keep in mind, this was back in 2023.
Pretty early days for these big language models.
Exactly. And what happened? ChatGPT just spits out this short essay.
Let me guess. It was surprisingly good.
Neiholm actually admitted it was better than what many of his students could write.
Wow. Okay, so that anecdote really gets at something, doesn't it? Makes you question everything you thought you knew about intelligence.
Absolutely. If a machine can write a sophisticated essay on philosophy, does that devalue human intelligence?
Like, are we less special now? Less unique? I think a lot of people are feeling that fear these days.
Yeah, that twinge of, wait, a machine can do that. It's kind of unsettling, especially thinking about how much AI has advanced, even just in the last year or two since then. It's crazy.
Definitely makes you stop and think.
So the article goes on to explain how this experience really led Neiholm to dig into Krishnamurti's ideas, especially that whole argument that, well, maybe our minds work more like machines than we realize.
Yeah, that's where Krishnamurti's idea of the, the mechanical loop comes in, right?
Exactly. He says our minds get stuck in the cycle of experience, memory, knowledge.
So, like, we experience something, then we store it as a memory. And that memory shapes our knowledge. Then that knowledge affects our actions. It's like a feedback loop.
A loop. I was going to say, it's like our minds are running a program based on all our past experiences.
Right, like we're on autopilot most of the time, not even really thinking.
And Krishnamurti is suggesting that this mechanical loop, that's what makes us vulnerable to being imitated by machines.
Which makes sense, right? If our thinking is basically algorithmic, then it's not a stretch to think a machine, especially with all its processing power, could replicate that.
Yeah.
Or even surpass it.
And that leads to the million-dollar question that Krishnamurti poses.
Oh yeah, what's that?
He asks, if the machine can take over everything man can do and do it still better than us, then what is a human being? What are you?
Ooh, heavy stuff. He's really pushing us to think differently about this whole human versus machine thing. Like maybe the line is a lot blurrier than we like to admit.
For sure. But he doesn't just leave us hanging with that question. Krishnamurti also offers a way out. A way to reclaim our humanity in the face of all this advancing AI.
Oh, I'm definitely interested to hear more about that. How do we escape the machine takeover?
Okay, so we're kind of stuck in these mechanical loops of thinking, but how do we break free? What's the alternative? What does Krishnamurti offer?
Well, he believed that true intelligence, the kind that makes us human, it isn't mechanical at all. Like, it can't be copied by just crunching data or running algorithms.
So what does he suggest?
He talks about a different kind of intelligence, calls it non-thought intelligence.
Non-thought intelligence. Okay, that sounds kind of contradictory. How can you have intelligence without thought?
It's definitely a head-scratcher. But think about it this way. How often are you really present in the moment? Or are you always filtering everything through your past experiences and memories?
You mean like that mechanical loop we were talking about?
Exactly. All that knowledge and memory, it's kind of like baggage, weighing us down.
I know I'm totally guilty of that. Always analyzing, comparing, judging based on what I already know. It's hard to just be sometimes.
Right. And that's exactly what Krishnamurti is getting at. He says all that mental chatter, that clinging to the known, it actually blocks us from experiencing the world in a fresh way.
Yeah.
It's like we're trapped in those mechanical patterns.
So non-thought intelligence is more about quieting the mind, being present, open to new experiences.
Exactly. It's about being spontaneous, adaptable, responding in a way that isn't totally dictated by your past programming.
You know, that actually makes me think about all this talk about AI being able to learn and adapt, but maybe we've got it backward. Maybe we're the ones who need to relearn how to be truly adaptable, especially in a world that's constantly changing. I mean, things are moving so fast these days.
I think that's a really insightful point. Krishnamurti saw this coming. He didn't see AI as a threat, but as a challenge to reevaluate what intelligence really means. Like, what makes us smart, what makes us capable. It's not just about what we know.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we actually develop this non-thought intelligence? Does Krishnamurti give any practical tips?
He doesn't give, like, a step-by-step guide, but he does offer some really powerful insights. One of the big things he emphasizes is self-awareness, recognizing those mechanical thought patterns when they pop up, seeing how they limit us.
So step one is noticing when we're stuck in those loops of experience, memory, knowledge.
Yeah. And he says it's not about suppressing those thoughts or trying to, like, empty your mind. It's about being able to observe those thoughts without getting totally swept away by them.
Easier said than done, right?
Definitely takes practice. Krishnamurti suggests practicing a kind of mental dying at the end of each day.
Wait, dying, that sounds a bit intense.
He doesn't mean it literally, of course. He's talking about letting go, like letting go of all the thoughts, worries, plans we've accumulated throughout the day.
Oh, I get it. Like clearing the slate so you can wake up fresh the next day.
Exactly. Creating mental space, not being so cluttered with all the baggage. That's how we make room for that spontaneous, creative, non-thought intelligence to emerge. Otherwise, it's all jammed up.
So like rebooting a computer to clear out any glitches.
Perfect analogy. We need to reboot our minds too sometimes.
So are we talking about meditation, mindfulness? Is that the key here?
Those can be helpful tools for sure. But Krishnamurti's approach is more about cultivating awareness throughout your whole life, not just when you're meditating. It's about being present in every moment, whether you're walking, talking, eating, whatever, even just washing the dishes. It's bringing that quality of attention to everything you do.
Not escaping from the world, but engaging with it in a more mindful way. Makes sense.
And here's where Krishnamurti's take on AI gets really interesting. Remember that Turing test we talked about earlier?
The test to see if a machine can convince a human that it's intelligent.
Right. Well, Krishnamurti kind of flips that test on its head.
Oh, how so?
He asks, are we the ones who are thinking like machines? Are we so caught up in those mechanical loops that we become predictable, programmable, even replaceable?
Wow. I've never thought about it like that before. It's like he's saying, hey, look in the mirror, you passing the Turing test. Kind of scary, actually.
It is a bit of a wake-up call, but it's also a call to action. He's challenging us to break free from those patterns and cultivate a deeper, more authentic intelligence. It's a reminder that even in a world of super advanced AI, we still have the power to choose how we think, how we experience the world. We get to define what it means to be human.
It's almost like AI is this mirror, right? Reflecting our own mental habits back at us. Kind of makes you wonder how we should respond to all of this.
Yeah, I mean, how do we deal with this reflection staring back at us?
Right.
Krishnamurti would probably say that the best response isn't to try and, like, outsmart AI or compete with it.
So what should we do?
Focus on what makes us human.
Yeah.
Cultivate those qualities that algorithms can't replicate.
Instead of being afraid of AI, we can use it as a chance to grow, become more conscious, more aware.
Exactly. AI can push us to evolve.
It's like a challenge, right? To level up as humans.
Remember that warning Krishnamurti gave? That any human faculty we ignore in an AI-dominated world, it's going to just wither away.
Use it or lose it, basically.
Right. But the good news is we have a choice. We can choose to invest in those uniquely human things. You know, creativity, empathy, critical thinking, self-awareness.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what are the main takeaways you hope our listeners will walk away with today?
Let's see. I think the first one is to remember that at the end of the day, AI is a product of our minds.
It's a tool we created. So how we use it, that's up to us.
We're still in control, even as AI gets, more and more powerful.
It's easy to feel powerless sometimes, but that's a good reminder.
The second takeaway, AI can actually help us grow.
Really? How so?
It forces us to examine our own thoughts, our habits, our assumptions about intelligence itself.
And by doing that, maybe we can break free from those mechanical loops.
And start to experience a deeper way of being, more expansive, more free.
So it's not about rejecting technology, it's about using it as a tool. for self-discovery, transformation even.
Right. And the last takeaway, this is a journey, not a destination. Developing non-thought intelligence, it's a process.
It's not like you flip a switch and you're suddenly enlightened.
It takes practice, presence, attention, being willing to let go of those old patterns and embrace new ways of seeing things.
That's good advice for anything, really, not just AI.
Especially in a world that's changing so fast, that adaptability, that openness to new things, that might be the most valuable skill we can develop.
More valuable than any piece of technology.
And remember, this isn't about, like, becoming superhuman or transcending our humanity.
No, it's about embracing our full potential as human beings. Messy as that might be sometimes.
Right, with all our contradictions and complexities.
So to bring it back to Krishnamurti's question, that really challenging question, if the machine can take over everything man can do and do it still better than us, then what is a human being? What are you? It sounds like the answer isn't so much about what we do, but how we be in the world.
That's beautifully put. And I'd add that the answer to that question, well, it's something each of us has to find for ourselves. It's an exploration, a lifelong journey, you know.
Well said. And on that note, we want to thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of AI and human consciousness.
It's been a really mind-expanding conversation.
We hope it's given you some new insights and maybe even inspired you to explore these ideas further.
Definitely a lot to think about.
Remember, in a world with more and more automation, more and more AI, it's your unique perspective, your empathy, your ability to connect with others that makes you irreplaceable.
Absolutely. And if you ever feel overwhelmed by, technology, by all the change happening around us, just remember Krishnamurti's advice. Slow down, pay attention, be aware.
Simple but powerful. That's what will help us navigate the future with grace and wisdom.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks again for listening, everyone, and until next time, happy diving.